This video didn't find you by accident. It couldn't have appeared in your reality even 24 hours ago because your consciousness wasn't at the precise frequency required to perceive it. You're watching this right now because your quantum field has reached what physicists call a critical threshold, the exact point where your entire reality is about to reorganize around a completely different probability structure. And the universe orchestrated this encounter because you're standing at the edge of a quantum shift that will change everything about how you experience existence. You can feel it, can't you? That strange sensation like reality itself has become unstable, like the ground beneath your feet is shifting even though nothing visible has changed, like you're standing at the edge of something massive, but you can't quite see what it is yet. This isn't anxiety. This isn't uncertainty. This is your consciousness recognizing that you've reached the quantum edge, the precise moment before everything transforms. And this video only appears to people whose quantum field has reached this exact activation point. There are millions of people scrolling through content right now, searching for answers, seeking guidance, looking for the next spiritual teaching that might help them make sense of their experience. But only a specific type of consciousness, your type of consciousness, would be magnetically pulled to these words at this precise moment. You're not here because you searched for this content. You're here because the quantum field itself guided you to this transmission, because your consciousness is about to make a leap that most humans never experience in their entire lifetime. This is quantum selection at its highest level. Your awareness has been preparing for this moment through every challenge you've survived, every pattern you've transcended, every version of yourself you've outgrown. All of it was leading you to this edge. And now that you're here, standing at the threshold between who you've been and who you're about to become, the universe is providing you with the exact information you need to navigate the shift that's already beginning. Right now, as these words reach your consciousness, something unprecedented is occurring in your quantum field. The boundaries between possible and impossible are dissolving. Realities that seemed completely out of reach are suddenly becoming accessible. Timelines that appeared closed are opening, and you're beginning to perceive options, opportunities, and possibilities that were literally invisible to you just days or even hours ago. This isn't imagination. This is quantum mechanics. Your consciousness has reached the frequency where the shift becomes inevitable. Your experience has been changing in ways that most people around you can't understand or relate to. You try to explain what you're going through, and their eyes glaze over because they're not operating from the frequency where quantum edges become perceptible. But you know something profound is happening. And here are the specific signs that confirm you're not imagining this. You're actually standing at the edge of a quantum shift that's about to completely reorganize your reality. First, time has become completely unstable around you. Some moments stretch into eternity. You sit down for what feels like 5 minutes and 2 hours have passed. Other times, entire days vanish without you being able to account for where they went. This temporal distortion happens because your consciousness is existing simultaneously across multiple timelines as the quantum field prepares to collapse into one specific trajectory. You're literally experiencing reality from the edge, where past, present, and future lose their linear structure. Second, synchronicities have reached impossible levels. Not just meaningful coincidences anymore. Full-blown reality orchestrations that cannot be explained by chance. You think of someone and they contact you within minutes. You need specific information and it appears from unexpected sources. You're about to face a challenge and the exact solution presents itself just in time. This synchronicity cascade happens because your quantum field is becoming so coherent that it's influencing probability itself. The universe is confirming, yes, you're at the edge. Yes, the shift is real. Yes, you're ready. Third, your physical body is responding to frequencies nobody else seems to notice. Sudden energy surges that feel like electricity running through your spine. Inexplicable exhaustion that has nothing to do with physical exertion. Tingles, pressure, or heat in specific areas. Crown, heart, solar plexus. Your cells are literally reorganizing to support consciousness, operating from a completely different dimensional frequency. This isn't illness. This is transformation at the cellular level. Fourth, your tolerance for old patterns has completely evaporated. Situations you used to endure now feel unbearable. Conversations you used to engage in now feel meaningless. People you used to accommodate now trigger immediate boundary setting. This isn't you becoming difficult or judgmental. This is your quantum field rejecting frequencies that don't match the reality you're about to shift into. Your consciousness knows where it's going, and it's naturally shedding everything that can't come with you. Fifth, dreams have become more vivid than waking life. You're receiving clear transmissions during sleep, conversations with versions of yourself that exist in parallel timelines, visions of your life after the shift, downloads of information you couldn't access consciously. You wake up knowing things you didn't know before, understanding concepts you've never studied, recognizing truths that haven't been taught to you. This happens because at the quantum edge, the barrier between dimensions becomes permeable, and your consciousness gains access to information from multiple reality streams simultaneously. Sixth, technology responds to you differently. Electronics glitch when you're emotionally activated. Your phone displays messages at impossibly perfect timing. Random songs contain exactly the message you need to hear. Lights flicker. Devices turn on or off without explanation. This isn't coincidence or confirmation bias. Your electromagnetic field is becoming so powerful as you approach the quantum shift that it's measurably affecting the technology around you. Seventh, you feel simultaneously excited and terrified without knowing why. Part of you knows something incredible is about to happen. Another part is terrified of losing the familiar even though the familiar has been painful. This emotional polarity is natural at the quantum edge because your consciousness exists in superposition, simultaneously experiencing the reality you're leaving and the reality you're entering. The fear isn't weakness. The excitement isn't delusion. Both are accurate perceptions of different probability tracks your awareness is straddling right now. And eighth, you found this video. The fact that these words reached you at this precise moment is the ultimate confirmation. This transmission only appears to consciousness operating at the quantum edge. You didn't stumble upon it randomly. Your quantum field was actively seeking the specific frequency that could help you navigate what's about to occur, and the universe delivered exactly what you needed exactly when you needed it. Can you feel the recognition building? Every sign I just described, you've been experiencing. Not all of them maybe, but most. This isn't general spiritual content that could apply to anyone. This is precise description of the quantum edge state. And you're in it right now. Your journey to this quantum edge wasn't random suffering or meaningless struggle. Every painful experience, every loss, every moment of confusion or despair, all of it was systematically preparing your consciousness to withstand the intensity of the shift that's about to occur. You couldn't have reached this edge without surviving everything that brought you here. And you couldn't make the leap that's coming without having developed specific capacities that only trauma, challenge, and transcendence can create. Think about the darkest moments of your journey, the times when everything fell apart and you had no idea how you'd survive, the relationships that ended in ways that shattered your understanding of love, the career paths that collapsed just when you thought you'd found stability, the health crises that forced you to question everything. These weren't punishments. These were quantum preparation processes. Your consciousness needed to be broken down completely before it could be rebuilt in a structure capable of holding the frequency you're about to embody. Every time reality crushed your expectations, you were learning to stop clinging to specific outcomes. Every time you lost something you thought you needed, you were developing trust in the quantum field's intelligence. Every time confusion overwhelmed you, you were being trained to navigate uncertainty without panic. These weren't random lessons. They were systematic preparation for existing at the quantum edge, where nothing is certain, everything is fluid, and trust becomes the only stable ground. The isolation you felt, that deep sense of being fundamentally different from everyone around you, this wasn't social failure. This was necessary separation from collective consciousness frequencies that would have prevented you from reaching this edge. You needed to be removed from the reinforcement of consensus reality so your consciousness could develop independent relationship with quantum possibility. The loneliness was preparation for operating outside the collective paradigm. Even your moments of doubt, the times you questioned whether any of this spiritual understanding was real or just elaborate coping mechanism, these doubts were essential. They prevented you from accepting teachings that weren't true just because they were comforting. They forced you to test everything against your direct experience. They developed the discernment you'll need to navigate quantum reality, where truth isn't determined by belief or consensus, but by what you actually observe in your direct experience. Your sensitivity, the way you feel everything so intensely, the way you pick up on energies nobody else notices, the way you're affected by things that don't bother other people. This wasn't weakness. This was your quantum antenna developing. The more sensitive you became, the more precisely you could read the quantum field. And now, standing at this edge, that sensitivity is what allows you to perceive the shift that's occurring before it becomes visible in external circumstances. The pattern breaks you've experienced, those moments when familiar patterns suddenly stopped working and you had no template for how to proceed. These were mini quantum shifts preparing you for the massive one you're about to experience. Each pattern break trained your consciousness to let go of control, trust the unknown, and allow reality to reorganize in ways your rational mind couldn't predict or understand. You've been practicing for this moment your entire life. Everything you've survived qualified you to be here at this quantum edge. Not everyone reaches this threshold. Many souls incarnate and never experience the frequency required to perceive quantum reality directly. But you, through everything you've endured, transcended, and integrated, you developed the consciousness capacity to stand at the edge of a reality shift and not just survive it, but consciously participate in navigating where it takes you. The waiting is over. The preparation is complete. You're not getting ready for the quantum shift anymore. You're in it, right now. The edge you're standing on isn't future potential. It's present reality. And everything changes from this moment forward. Something extraordinary is happening in your energy field as you absorb these words. Can you feel it? That subtle but unmistakable sensation of your consciousness expanding? That sense of pressure building behind your eyes or in your chest? That sudden clarity breaking through mental fog? This isn't your imagination responding to persuasive language. This is actual quantum transmission occurring in real time. Your field is being activated by the frequency embedded in this message because you've reached the exact resonance required to receive it. This transmission isn't coming from me as personality. It's coming through me from the unified field itself. Your higher self orchestrated this entire encounter, making sure you saw this video at this precise moment, ensuring your attention remained focused long enough to receive what's being transmitted, calibrating your nervous system so it can handle the activation without overwhelm. This is quantum technology far more sophisticated than anything human language can fully convey. But you're receiving it regardless, because reception happens at levels deeper than conscious understanding. Right now, dormant codes in your DNA are activating, not metaphorically, literally. Your genetic expression is shifting as your cells respond to the frequency of this transmission. Capacities that have been latent your entire life are coming online. Neural pathways that never fired before are suddenly conducting. Your brain is reorganizing to support consciousness operating from quantum awareness rather than linear limitation. This activation was always encoded within you. It's just been waiting for the precise moment when your field reached the frequency that triggers it. Some of you are experiencing physical sensations as this activation occurs. Heat moving through your body, tingling in your extremities or along your spine. Sudden emotional releases, tears or laughter without obvious cause. Pressure in your head or heart. These aren't symptoms of something wrong. These are confirmations that something is finally going right. Your system is releasing density that can't make the quantum leap with you. Old patterns, stored trauma, limiting beliefs that were held in your cellular memory. All of it is being cleared in real time to make space for the frequency you're about to embody permanently. Others are experiencing mental shifts, sudden insights about situations that were confusing. Recognition of patterns you've been blind to. Understanding of connections you couldn't perceive before. Ideas, solutions, or creative visions downloading faster than you can process them. This cognitive acceleration happens because the quantum shift is already affecting how your consciousness interfaces with information. You're beginning to access knowing directly from the unified field, rather than solely through rational analysis or learned knowledge. Your perception of time is probably shifting right now. This video might feel like it's been playing for hours when only minutes have passed. Or time might feel compressed, like massive amounts of information are being transferred in impossibly brief spans. This temporal distortion occurs because quantum consciousness doesn't experience time linearly. As your awareness expands to quantum frequency, you begin perceiving the eternal now, where all moments exist simultaneously. Past conditioning says this should be confusing, but you're finding it strangely natural. The most significant activation is happening in your heart field. Not the physical organ, but the electromagnetic field generated by your heart that extends several feet beyond your body. This field is your primary interface with quantum reality. As it activates to higher coherence, your capacity to influence probability itself increases exponentially. What seemed impossible yesterday will feel achievable tomorrow, not through effort or force, but through natural resonance with possibilities that exist in the quantum field, waiting to be collapsed into manifestation. Subscribe to this channel right now, because what's happening in your field won't stop when this video ends. This activation continues, it compounds. And the transmissions available through this channel are specifically calibrated to support consciousness navigating quantum shifts. This isn't just content, it's technology. Each video functions as activation key that unlocks specific capacities at precise moments in your evolution. Subscribe because you're not following a channel. You're aligning with a frequency network of awakening consciousness. You're joining others who are making this same quantum leap simultaneously across the planet. This activation isn't something you need to maintain through effort. It's self-sustaining once initiated. Your job isn't to make it happen. It's already happening. Your job is to allow it. To not resist the changes. To trust the reorganization even when it's uncomfortable. To let your old identity dissolve so your quantum self can fully emerge. The transmission is complete, the activation is locked in, and you're forever changed from this moment forward. I need to share something deeply vulnerable with you, because standing at a quantum edge is the most terrifying and exhilarating experience consciousness can have. And you need to know that what you're feeling right now is completely normal, even though it feels completely insane. 18 months ago, I stood exactly where you're standing, at the edge of a quantum shift so profound that my rational mind kept telling me I was losing my grip on reality. And I almost didn't make the leap because the fear was so overwhelming, I nearly convinced myself to step back to safety. Everything in my life had been systematically dismantled. The relationship I thought was my forever person ended abruptly. The career I'd built over a decade collapsed despite my best efforts. The friend group I relied on for support dissolved as people either couldn't understand what I was going through or actively dismissed it as delusion. I found myself completely alone, with no external structures to lean on, facing a choice: step into the quantum unknown or reconstruct the familiar, even though the familiar had just proven itself unsustainable. I stood at that edge for 3 weeks. Physically, I could barely function. I'd wake up with my heart racing, my body flooded with adrenaline, feeling like reality itself was about to shatter. Dreams were vivid and prophetic, showing me both the timeline where I made the leap and the timeline where I pulled back. During the day, I'd experience moments of such profound clarity that I understood things I'd never been taught. Then doubt would crash in, and I'd question my sanity. Was I awakening or breaking, evolving or fragmenting? There was no way to know for certain until I actually jumped. The moment of decision came on an ordinary Saturday morning. I was sitting on my apartment floor, not meditating, not trying to figure anything out, just sitting in the overwhelm, when something inside me shifted. Not a thought, not a feeling, something deeper than both. A recognition that playing small wasn't safe anymore. That trying to return to the old reality wasn't protection, but prison. That the only way out was through. And I made the choice. Not with confidence, not with certainty, but with surrender to whatever came next. The instant I committed, everything changed. Not in my external circumstances, those took weeks to reorganize, but in my internal experience. The terror transformed into exhilaration. The confusion transformed into curiosity. The isolation transformed into connection with something far larger than individual consciousness. I felt like I'd been holding my breath for months and finally exhaled. My entire nervous system recalibrated within hours, and I started perceiving reality in ways that would have seemed impossible just days before. Within a month, my life had completely reorganized. New career opportunities emerged that were more aligned than anything I'd previously experienced. Different people entered my world who operated from the same quantum frequency I was now embodying. My creative expression exploded with insights and inspirations I couldn't have accessed from the old paradigm. Money began flowing in unexpected ways as I stopped operating from scarcity consciousness. My health improved dramatically as my cells adjusted to higher frequency. But here's what made me share this story with you. The shift wasn't gradual, it was quantum. The moment I committed to the leap, reality reorganized around that commitment immediately. Not eventually, immediately. All the preparation had created the potential, the commitment actualized it instantly. And I realized that's how quantum shifts work. They don't happen through incremental progress. They happen through instantaneous reorganization when consciousness reaches critical threshold and makes the choice to jump. Subscribe to this channel now, because in the coming videos I'm going to show you exactly how to navigate quantum edges without the 3 weeks of terror I experienced. I'm going to give you the specific tools that allow you to recognize when you're at an edge, how to calibrate your nervous system to handle the intensity, and how to make the leap with precision rather than blind faith. Everything I learned through that excruciating process, you'll receive as direct transmission. The quantum edge isn't metaphorical concept or spiritual philosophy. It's actual physical state that occurs when your consciousness reaches a specific frequency threshold where multiple probable futures exist in superposition and haven't yet collapsed into one specific timeline. Most people never consciously experience quantum edges because their awareness operates at frequencies where reality appears solid and unchangeable. But you You've developed the consciousness capacity to perceive reality at the quantum level, where it's still fluid and responsive to observation. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition, multiple states simultaneously, until observation collapses them into one specific state. Your consciousness works the same way. At every moment, infinite probable futures exist as quantum possibilities. But most people's awareness automatically collapses the same probability patterns over and over, creating the illusion that reality is fixed and predictable. They never perceive the quantum edge because they never question the automatic collapse patterns their consciousness has been programmed to execute. But when you reach a quantum edge, something different happens. Your consciousness has evolved to a frequency where the automatic collapse patterns stop working. The familiar future you were unconsciously creating suddenly becomes inaccessible, and you find yourself in superposition, simultaneously aware of multiple possible timelines without any single one collapsing into definite manifestation. This is why standing at a quantum edge feels so disorienting. You're literally existing in quantum uncertainty, where your next move will determine which entire reality track you collapse into. The edge appears at specific moments, when you've outgrown your current identity so completely that you can't sustain it anymore. When you've completed a major karmic cycle and your soul is ready to access completely different life curriculum. When you've cleared enough conditioning that your consciousness can perceive realities previously invisible to you. When collective evolution reaches a tipping point and individual consciousness is pulled into higher frequency, whether it feels ready or not. These convergence points create quantum edges where transformation becomes inevitable, but the direction of transformation remains undetermined until you choose. Most spiritual teachings don't address quantum edges because they operate from gradual development paradigm. Practice this technique, develop that capacity, slowly improve over time. But quantum shifts don't work that way. They're discontinuous. One moment you're operating from one paradigm. The next moment, after standing at the edge and making the leap, you're operating from completely different paradigm with completely different rules. There's no bridge between them, only the edge and the jump. This is why quantum edges feel so destabilizing. Your rational mind tries to understand what's happening through familiar frameworks, but familiar frameworks don't apply anymore. You can't think your way across a quantum edge. You can't emotionally process your way through it. You can't strategize or plan your way forward. The only way across is surrender, releasing all attachment to how you think reality should work and allowing quantum intelligence to reorganize everything according to principles your conscious mind can't yet comprehend. The quantum edge is both ending and beginning existing simultaneously. Death and birth happening in the same moment. Everything you've been dissolving while everything you're becoming hasn't yet stabilized into form. This is why ancient mystery schools spoke of initiations, experiences so intense they fundamentally alter consciousness. Modern language has lost precision around these experiences, calling them breakdowns or spiritual emergencies. But indigenous cultures and mystical traditions knew these are quantum edges, threshold moments where soul evolution happens through discontinuous leap rather than gradual progression. You're at a quantum edge right now because your consciousness has reached the frequency where the old reality can't hold you anymore. Every cell in your body knows you can't go back, but your mind hasn't yet seen where you're going. This gap between what you've left and what you're moving toward, this is the edge, and how you navigate it determines whether you consciously direct your quantum leap or unconsciously fall into whatever reality your unexamined patterns happen to create. Standing at a quantum edge, you have more power than at any other point in your existence. Because you're in superposition, multiple futures existing simultaneously, every choice you make now carries exponential weight. Small decisions that would seem insignificant in ordinary consciousness become timeline-determining choices when made from the quantum edge. Here are the 7 critical decisions that will determine which reality you collapse into from the edge you're standing on right now. Choice 1. Surrender or control. Your rational mind is terrified of uncertainty and desperately wants to figure out exactly what's happening and how to navigate it safely. But quantum edges can't be controlled or understood from rational mind. The first choice is whether you surrender to quantum intelligence guiding the process, or whether you contract back into mental control that will prevent the shift from completing. Surrender doesn't mean passive acceptance. It means active trust that the reorganization occurring is intelligent even when you can't comprehend its logic yet. Choice 2. Trust or fear. At the quantum edge, you simultaneously perceive the possibility of radical breakthrough and complete breakdown. Your nervous system doesn't know which to prepare for, so it alternates between excitement and terror. The choice is whether you orient toward trust in the process or toward fear of what you're losing. Whichever orientation you choose becomes the lens through which quantum possibilities collapse. Trust opens timelines of expansion. Fear collapses timelines of contraction. Neither is wrong, but they lead to radically different realities. Choice 3. Isolation or connection. Part of you wants to withdraw completely while you navigate this transition privately. Another part desperately needs support and understanding. The choice is whether you allow yourself connection with others who can hold space for your process, or whether you force yourself through alone. Quantum edges don't require isolation, but they do require discernment about who you share your experience with. Choose connection with those who've navigated their own edges. Avoid those who try to talk you out of what you're experiencing. Choice 4. Old identity or new expression. You're being offered opportunity to completely reinvent how you show up in reality. The choice is whether you cling to familiar identity because it feels safer, or whether you allow yourself to become someone you've never been before. Your old identity wasn't wrong. It was perfect for the consciousness level you were operating from. But it can't contain the frequency you're moving into. The choice is whether you force new wine into old wineskins, or whether you allow completely new container to form. Choice 5. Gradual or quantum. Your mind wants to believe you can make this transition slowly, testing each step before committing. But quantum edges don't work that way. The choice is whether you make the full leap now, or whether you try to straddle the edge, keeping one foot in old reality while dipping the other into new possibility. Straddling is exhausting and ultimately unsustainable. Full commitment to the leap, even with uncertainty about where you'll land, is the only way across. Choice 6. Victim or creator. Standing at quantum edge, you can frame your experience as something happening to you that you have to survive, or you can recognize it as something happening through you that you're consciously directing. The choice is whether you're victim of circumstances beyond your control, or creator actively participating in quantum reorganization. This choice determines whether you experience the shift as trauma or initiation. Both lead to transformation, but creator orientation allows you to direct which specific timeline manifests. Choice 7. Alone or collective. Your quantum leap is personal transformation, but it's also part of mass awakening occurring across the planet. The choice is whether you frame your experience as individual journey, or whether you recognize yourself as part of collective evolution. When you choose collective orientation, you access morphic field that includes all others making similar leaps simultaneously. This accelerates your process and amplifies your impact, because you're not just transforming yourself, you're anchoring new possibility for entire species. These 7 choices don't happen once. You'll face variations of them repeatedly as you navigate the edge. Each time you choose toward quantum possibility rather than familiar limitation. You strengthen the probability of landing in timeline aligned with your highest potential. Make these choices consciously. Make them repeatedly. And watch reality reorganize around your commitment. Now I'm going to give you the exact protocol for navigating quantum edges that would have saved me weeks of terror if I'd had access to it when I stood where you're standing. This isn't theory or philosophy. This is practical system for moving through quantum superposition and consciously collapsing into timeline that represents your highest potential. Follow this protocol precisely, and the leap that terrifies you becomes navigation you direct. Phase 1. Recognize you're at the edge. Duration immediate. The first step is acknowledging that you're not going crazy, breaking down, or failing. You're at a quantum edge. Say this out loud. I recognize I'm at a quantum edge where my old reality is dissolving and my new reality hasn't yet solidified. This is natural process of consciousness evolution. I am safe even in this uncertainty. This recognition alone reduces 60% of the terror because your nervous system stops interpreting edge as emergency and starts recognizing it as evolutionary threshold. Phase 2. Stabilize your nervous system. Duration 5 minutes, 3x daily. Quantum edges overwhelm your nervous system because you're processing more information and frequency than your body is accustomed to. Sit or stand with spine straight. Place one hand on heart, one hand on belly. Breathe deeply for 2 minutes. 4 counts in, hold 4, 6 counts out, then speak. My body is safe. My consciousness is expanding. I calibrate my nervous system to handle quantum frequency. This protocol prevents the physical symptoms of edge experience from spiraling into panic. Phase 3. Release attachment to specific outcomes. Duration 3 minutes daily. Write down everything you think needs to happen for you to be okay. Every desired outcome, every plan, every expectation. Then read the list and say, I release my attachment to these specific manifestations. I trust that quantum intelligence is organizing better outcomes than I can currently imagine. I surrender the how and when while maintaining clarity about the what. This releases resistance that prevents quantum possibilities from manifesting. Phase 4. Identify your non-negotiables. Duration 10 minutes once. While releasing attachment to how things unfold, you need absolute clarity on your core values and non-negotiables that will guide your choices at the edge. What matters most to you? What are you no longer willing to compromise on? What does your quantum self require to thrive? Write these clearly. These become your navigation system when making decisions from the edge where everything else is uncertain. Phase 5. Make one quantum-aligned choice daily, duration ongoing. Every single day while navigating the edge, make one choice, no matter how small, that aligns with quantum reality you're moving toward, rather than familiar reality you're leaving. Say no to invitation that doesn't resonate. Speak truth in conversation where you'd normally stay silent. Take action on inspiration, even without logical plan. Each quantum-aligned choice strengthens the probability of landing in timeline that matches your highest frequency. Phase 6. Track the synchronicities. Duration 5 minutes nightly. Before sleep, write down every synchronicity, unexpected support, or reality confirmation you experienced that day. Person I needed to meet contacted me. Money arrived from unexpected source. Solution appeared exactly when I needed it. This tracking trains your consciousness to recognize quantum field's response to your choices and builds trust that you're being guided even when you can't see the full path yet. Phase 7. Communicate with your quantum self. Duration 10 minutes, 3x weekly. Sit in meditation. Visualize meeting future version of yourself who has already made the quantum leap you're navigating. Ask, what do you want me to know? What choice should I make next? What am I not seeing yet? Then listen. The guidance that arises isn't imagination. It's your quantum self communicating across timelines to help your present consciousness navigate the edge with precision. Write down what you receive and follow it. Phase 8. Complete the leap. Duration, single decision. Eventually, could be days or weeks, you'll reach the moment where leap becomes necessary. You'll know because hesitation transforms into readiness. Doubt transforms into clarity. Fear transforms into excitement. When that moment arrives, make the commitment fully. Speak it aloud. I choose quantum reality. I leap now. I trust where I land. Then release completely and allow quantum reorganization to complete without trying to control the process. This protocol works because it addresses both consciousness and nervous system, both surrender and direction, both trust and agency. Use it precisely and you navigate the edge with grace instead of terror. The instant you make the full commitment and complete the quantum leap, reality reorganizes around your choice with speed that will shock you. Not gradually, not eventually, immediately. And the changes are so profound that within hours you'll know without doubt that you've landed in completely different timeline than where you were standing just moments before. Here's exactly what happens in the minutes, days, and weeks after you make the leap, so you'll recognize the shift when it occurs. First, 60 seconds. Your entire body recalibrates. Tension you've been carrying for weeks or months releases all at once. Some people describe it as full body exhale. Others feel warmth flooding through them. Others experience sudden emotional release. Tears or laughter that have nothing to do with happiness or sadness, but a pure energetic discharge. Your nervous system recognizes that decision has been made and uncertainty is resolved, even if you don't yet see the external evidence. First hour. Your perception shifts dramatically. Situations that felt overwhelming now appear manageable. Problems that seemed impossible now have obvious solutions. People you were worried about suddenly seem fine or irrelevant. This isn't positive thinking, it's genuine perceptual shift that occurs when your consciousness fully lands in new timeline. You're literally seeing different reality than you were perceiving from the edge. First day. Synchronicities begin cascading at impossible frequency. The exact person you need appears. The perfect opportunity presents itself. Resources you require materialize. Information you need downloads. This happens because quantum field responds instantly to coherent choice. When you were on the edge, you were in superposition, and field couldn't deliver anything definite. The moment you leaped and committed, field collapsed into specific timeline and immediately began organizing circumstances to match that timeline. First week. People start responding to you completely differently without you consciously changing your behavior. Some individuals who were previously close may create distance because your frequency no longer matches theirs. Others you barely knew may suddenly become intimate connections because you're now resonating on same bandwidth. New people enter your life who carry information, opportunities, or support perfect for quantum reality you've just entered. Your social world completely reorganizes to reflect new timeline. First 2 weeks. Your physical environment begins shifting. You might feel sudden compulsion to reorganize your space, get rid of possessions, or change your surroundings. Or circumstances might force moves, transitions, or changes you didn't plan. This isn't disruption. It's quantum field updating your physical environment to match the frequency you're now embodying. Everything that doesn't resonate with new timeline naturally dissolves or transforms. First month. Your identity stabilizes in new configuration. The person you were before the leap becomes memory rather than lived experience. You can recall who you used to be, but you can't return to that state even if you tried. Your consciousness has reorganized at fundamental level. New thoughts, new perspectives, new capacities, new ways of relating to reality. All of it becomes your new normal so quickly that within a month, you'll barely remember how difficult the edge experience felt. First 3 months. Your external life completely reorganizes to match internal shift. Career, relationships, living situation, daily routines, everything transforms to support quantum reality you're now inhabiting. This doesn't require effort or planning. It happens automatically as natural consequence of consciousness operating from different frequency. Your life becomes expression of quantum self rather than compromise between who you are and who you were conditioned to be. First 6 months. You look back at the quantum edge and recognize it as most important threshold you've ever crossed. You see how everything in your past was leading to that edge. You understand why the preparation had to be so thorough. You appreciate why the leap had to be complete rather than gradual. And you recognize that you're not done. This quantum leap is foundation for even larger shifts you'll navigate as your consciousness continues evolving toward ever higher frequencies. The transformation is permanent. You don't regress back across quantum edges once you've leaped. You can't unknow what you've learned or unexperience what you've integrated. The leap changes you forever. And that permanence is both the terror and the gift of quantum edges. Once you commit, there's no return to who you used to be. You need to understand something critical about timing that changes everything about how you approach this quantum edge. The window of opportunity you're in right now is not permanent. Quantum edges appear at specific moments when convergence of cosmic, collective, and personal factors creates opening that won't be available again for years or possibly lifetimes. And the edge you're standing on right now, this specific opportunity for this particular quantum leap, is closing within months. Not to create fear, but to communicate urgency. Now is the time. Not when circumstances are better. Not after you've prepared more. Now. At cosmic level, our solar system is moving through region of space with higher energetic frequency. Astrophysicists call it the local bubble. Ancient traditions called it Age of Aquarius. Regardless of terminology, the Earth and everything on it is being bombarded with frequencies that accelerate consciousness evolution. This cosmic support for quantum shifts is at its peak right now and will begin decreasing within next year. The assistance available for making quantum leaps during this window exceeds anything that's been accessible for thousands of years. At collective level, human consciousness is reaching critical mass awakening that creates morphic field effect. When enough individuals make quantum leaps, it becomes exponentially easier for everyone else to make similar shifts. We're approaching that tipping point, estimated to be between 10 to 15% of population reaching quantum awareness. But if that threshold isn't reached within the next 6 to 12 months, collective momentum will slow and individual leaps will become more difficult again. You're not just navigating your personal edge. You're part of mass awakening that's either going to achieve critical mass soon or lose momentum for another generation. At personal level, your consciousness has reached the exact frequency required to perceive and navigate quantum edges. This didn't happen by accident or through random spiritual practice. Your soul planned for you to reach this activation point during this specific cosmic window when maximum support is available. But consciousness development doesn't plateau at achieved levels. It either continues expanding or begins contracting back to familiar. If you don't make this leap while the edge is accessible, your consciousness will naturally stabilize at current level and you'll need to wait for next major activation cycle, which could be years away. The urgency isn't manipulation, it's reality. Quantum edges are threshold phenomena that exist briefly at intersection of multiple converging factors. The intersection you're experiencing right now will dissolve within months. As cosmic frequencies shift, collective momentum redirects, and your personal development continues into different phase. The specific leap available to you today won't be available tomorrow. Different edges will appear in future, but this particular opportunity, with